What's up, guys? It's Lefty here, and we're talking NBA Finals. I got a series bet and some bets for Game 1 I really like, plus a couple player props. I'll give my thoughts on the series and how I think these two teams match up. It's no secret, I'm a Boston sports fan, but my loyalty is towards money. I have no problem betting against Boston teams if I think it's the right play. When you bet on sports, as long as I have, you don't have favorite teams. Your fandom for your favorite team goes away. My favorite team is whoever won me my last bet and whoever wins me my next bet. So this preview is my honest, unbiased opinion, despite the fact that I'd love for the Celtics to get banner 18 and pass the Lakers all time. But first, let's take a look at what the market is doing here. I'm recording this on Tuesday, 2 days before Game 1 tips off on Thursday. Boston opened up -6. They're currently painted -6.5 across the board. Half-point line move usually wouldn't be worth talking about, but when you consider Dallas has been getting lopsided bets and money, this half-point means a little bit more, especially because it's the NBA Finals. These betting percentage splits that show Dallas getting roughly 70% of bets on the spread hold a lot more weight because it's a lot more bets. If you've watched any of my market analysis lessons that I've done, I always say to try and think like a bookie when reading the market. If you were a sportsbook manager and all your customers were pounding bets on the same team, what would you do? The obvious answer is to adjust the line to make that team that's receiving all the betting action look less appealing to bettors. That's not what the sportsbooks have done here. Instead, they seem perfectly fine with all the Dallas betting action coming in, so much so that they've even moved Dallas from +6 to +6.5. This tells us, at least as of this recording, there is sharp or respected money being bet on Boston for Game 1 of the series. But a couple things to keep in mind. This is the NBA Finals. Public action will outweigh sharp action way more than it normally does, and the betting limits will be at its highest on game day, which is still more than 48 hours away. The over is also getting pounded with lopsided bets and money, but you'd think with all the bets and money coming in on the over, the books would adjust the total up more than they already have. It basically hasn't moved all that much, and I think I know why, which I will explain later in this video. Now, as for the series prices go, Dallas has got a lot of respect since the opener. Dallas has gone from either +250 or +220 down to +180, depending on the sports book. This series price is much different than how Boston has been priced in the playoffs. They've been huge favorites in every playoff series, -800 or higher. So the market is showing a lot of respect for Dallas, but odds makers also expect Dallas to be the public side or the more heavily bet side, and so far they've been right. Everyone's already crowning Luka and Kyrie as the best backcourt tandem duo of all time, like Steph and Clay never existed. But I think a big reason for the Dallas support is because the easy path Boston had to the finals. Nobody's giving Boston any credit for the Pacers series win, but this Pacers team blew out Dallas by a combined 40 points in their 2 regular season meetings. But no question, Boston benefited from insane injury luck. They got Miami without Jimmy, the Cavs and Donovan Mitchell, who didn't want to be in Cleveland and basically faked an injury, in my opinion. Then finally the Pacers and Halliburton. You could argue that this is Boston's first real competitive game in about a month, but the Pacers series was good for Boston because they had to compete late in every game besides one, and Boston had to work extremely hard defensively against a Pacers offense that, no matter what metrics you use to rate teams, they're top 3 in the league offensively. Now, the question is, does Boston's easy road to the finals help them or hurt them? Boston was expected to be here. They were the favorites to win it all at the All-Star break. Dallas was +3,500 at the break. It only took Boston 14 games to get to the finals. They definitely used less mileage, especially on guys like Horford, who had to pick up his usage with Porzingas out. Now, with the way the finals are scheduled, it's so spread out, where they play Thursday, then the next game isn't until Sunday. It's almost going to be a full week before they even get to Game 3 of the series. But it seems like because Boston had an easy road to the finals, that it's a negative for them in this series, which maybe this is my Boston bias in me, but I don't understand how it's a negative. Um, I mean, it would be a negative if this team was, inexperienced and not battle tested, and then they had a cakewalk to the finals. But this core group of guys on Boston has played some really tough series in the past 2 or 3 years. Experience in the playoffs has been a pretty big factor, and between Tatum and Brown, I think they got 11 Eastern Conference Finals appearances. Holiday is a recent NBA champ. This narrative about Boston not being battle tested because of this year's path to the finals is just crazy to me. If anything, Boston's real luck this playoffs is avoiding Denver in the finals. That would be a terrible matchup for Boston. No clue how they would defend Joker there. Now, when I run my numbers here for the finals, which includes every game played this season, Boston is a huge favorite in the series. And these are just based off the numbers. Boston has an SRS rating of 10.75. That's the fifth best SRS rating of all time, or since it's been out. SRS stands for Simple Rating System. It rates and takes into account average point differential and the strength of schedule combined. The rating's based in points above or below average, with 0 being league average. And just based on net ratings alone, Boston has an adjusted net rating of 11.11, which is the highest I've ever seen a team. Yet, people aren't convinced they should be overwhelming favorites in this series. Based on past performances and how they've played against Indy. Now, here's the thing. These numbers that make Boston such a big favorite, they obviously don't account for what Dallas is now or how they've played the last 2 months. Those same numbers for Boston also are with a healthy Porzingas most of the time, which he's not now. And a big factor late in the playoffs and especially in the finals is clutch time. Clutch time is defined as the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter or overtime when the score is within 5 points. Who would you want in clutch time? That screams Luka and Kyrie. Even the biggest Celtics fan would want Luka and Kyrie in the clutch. Now, the Celtics are 4-0 this playoffs in the clutch, but 3 of those wins were against Indy, where Indy pretty much self-imploded and their experience cost them. Late game execution, Dallas has a big advantage, no doubt about it. Now, also, the Celtics style of play, which relies so heavily on the three-point shot, three-point variance alone just won't allow them to dominate, even if the numbers say they should. You almost have to give Dallas 1 or 2 games just based on the fact Boston won't have the 3-ball going every game. There's a reason the saying, live by the 3, die by the 3 exists. We've seen similar teams die by the 3 way more often than they live by it. I do think this series will go 7 games. I bet Dallas plus 1.5 games in the series, which means I'll win this bet if Dallas wins the series in any amount of games or if they lose in 7 games. Feel pretty good about that. Plus, I can play individual games in the series off this bet. Now, another thing, I think people are really overestimating Porzingas being back. This is a huge question mark. How healthy is he? How many minutes is he going to be able to play? You can't just assume him being back means the same production. And in a way, I think this could actually hurt Boston more than help, as crazy as that might sound. We often see this when a key contributor of any team comes back after being out for an extended period of time. It can mess up the chemistry and the flow on offense. I mean, I can't imagine Porzingis is healthy enough to switch onto Luka in the pick and roll actions. Which Dallas will definitely try, and this likely means we see Porzingas in drop coverage, which will help the Dallas offense. And really, I think we see both offenses able to score somewhat easily here. This is going to be a much more difficult matchup for Dallas defensively than they've played so far in the playoffs. They haven't played an offense that's even close to Boston's. Dallas versus the Thunder and Mavs had a very simple defensive scheme. You put bodies on SGA and J-Dub, leave everyone else open. Versus Minnesota, put bodies on Towns and Edwards, leave everyone else open. Neither of those two teams could make Dallas pay for leaving shooters open. Dallas has allowed the most three-point field goal attempts in the playoffs, but that's really by design. They allowed a ton of pick and pop threes to Chet Holmgren and J-Dub, which Dallas was fine with. Versus T-Wolves, Naz Reid had 25 three-point attempts. That's not going to work versus Boston. You can't leave anyone open on Boston. Maybe you gamble on Horford or Brown or something like that, but the Celtics offense is so good at hunting mismatches. If you look at every series this postseason, Celtics put the opposing team's weakest defender in every type of action and forced them to defend the ball handler. The Miami series, they put Tyler Hero and everything, same with Garland and Halliburton. And usually it's with Derek White's defender. Boston loves to run that like inverted pick and roll where Derek White brings it up with a smaller defender to get a switch for Tatum. Or the Derek White, like Porzingas pick and roll late in games. But again, Porzingas, that's a big question mark. Also, I don't think Dallas will be able to hide Luka on defense like they've been able to do. Celtics hunted Luka the last time they played. Luka allowed 30 points as the primary defender. Minnesota never made Luka work defensively, and I don't know why. They just let him hang out in the corner and switched him onto whoever went to the corner. So as much as I think Boston will be able to score, when Dallas has the ball, I think they can score easily as well. Boston allows a ton of mid-range jump shots and floaters in the lane. Think about where Luka and Kyrie are great at. They might be the two best scorers in that area. The Pacers on 2-point shot attempts outside the restricted area, which is basically the mid-range, shot 52.6% in that series versus Boston, which this brings me to my first game one bet. I bet the over 213.5. This would definitely be a 2-unit play if it wasn't for the game one under trend that exists. I did a video on the trend at the start of the playoffs and explained why game one unders have a significant under trend. And I'll link that video in the top right-hand corner if you want to check it out. But I think the game one under trend is what's keeping this total in place. We saw all the bets and money coming in on the over, but the total hasn't moved up. So I could be walking into a trap here that I know is there, betting this over. Now, besides the over in game one, a player prop I really like is Luka over 8.5 rebounds. I also like over 9.5 too at less juice. Luka has so many uncontested rebound opportunities because the bigs on Dallas basically box out for Luka and let him get the rebound and go. Rather than the bigs get the rebound, control the ball, and pass it to Luka, they just let Luka get the rebound and push it up court. Plus, Boston's bigs are going to be playing more on the perimeter, so Luka should have a ton of easy rebound opportunities. I also made a small bet on Luka to be the game leader in rebounds as well. Another prop I really like is Kyrie over points. He should be super focused and motivated facing this Boston team, and Kyrie can score when he wants to. Plus, Boston allows a ton of points to pick and roll ball handlers. That happens to be where Kyrie excels at, too. I haven't bet his over points in game one yet, but I probably will. But I'm not just looking at his over for game one. I'm looking for his overs all series as well. I bet Peyton Pritchard under 9.5 points, rebounds, and assists. This is just based on minute expectations. Celtics can't play Pritchard more than maybe 8 or 10 minutes. Luka will hunt him. In the meeting in March, Luka called for the ball every time Pritchard was on the court. Luka got 7 shot attempts off on Pritchard in just like a few minutes he played. 9.5 is a small number for points, rebounds, and assists, but if he only plays 7 or 8 minutes, I don't see him going over that. Now, another bet I contemplated was actually Luka Finals MVP at plus 200 or plus 205. If you like Dallas to win this series, a bet on Luka to win Finals MVP at plus 200 makes a lot of sense. Of course, Dallas winning and Luka going off are extremely correlated, but that's if you think they win. I think Boston pulls this out, and if I bet this based solely on my numbers, it would be Boston winning in 5 games. But this Tatum-Brown era has been so weird. I don't trust them enough until I see them actually do it. I would not be surprised if Dallas wins in 7. Now, if you watch till the end, thank you. I really appreciate it. Because I don't have a clue what I'm doing when it comes to recording and video editing, these videos take me a lot of time. And if you haven't noticed, I do all my videos in one take because I don't know how to splice or edit videos together. So it is time consuming. And unlike almost every other capper on social media, I actually bet sports for a living. So time spent away from working on the games is a net negative for me. I'm probably missing a steam move right now or a source play as I speak. So let me get out of here. Until next time, may all the refs' calls and all the loose balls go your way.